Well, welcome everybody, and a special welcome to those of you that are joining us for the first time in this series, because we know some of you decided to register after maybe you heard about the first week, which I personally thought was fabulous. And our wonderful facilitator, who I'm about to introduce, is also a dear friend, and she has been involved in the field of relationship and relationship coaching for a number of years and has appeared on Oprah and some other talk shows. But more importantly, she's a really, really amazing person who walks the talk. She's somebody that is a lovebird. She loves to love. And so this is a perfect workshop for her to be leading. And I can't wait to introduce you to my friend Heide Banks. Here she is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Oh, did you enjoy the song? Did some of you hear it? I love that song. We love you just the way you are. It's kind of the love song I play to myself every morning when I wake up. It's like, okay, another day, especially these days, and mostly in quarantine, and you're not getting a lot of feedback from the universe. It's great to have that as a morning motivation. Thank you. I've got so many people this week who have emailed me and saying how much they enjoyed last week. Some had questions, and I love the interaction. I said at Insight, love interaction. I mean, that's what we're about. We are about loving and from the heart. And actually, how many people are on right now? I just want to see where we are number-wise. Rachel, do you know the number? Are we at 50?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to wait to ask this question then. I'm going to wait till the rest of us get on because we have about 30 or 40 more people showing up. So hi, welcome back. And I'm really excited about where we were last week and when we talked about intention and what was your intention about bringing in more love in your life, whether you were in a relationship or looking to create a relationship. And I left you with a challenge last week. And the challenge was to look at receiving in your life and how you were receiving, what you were receiving. And I'd love to just start today by hearing from some of you. There's going to be an opportunity to ask questions in a little bit, so I want to keep this very brief and very specific. And I'm going to rely on, I'd love to open the mic, but I think that might be too much. So what we'll do is, if you just raise your hands, I'll have Irene call on people. But so really specifically, what did you receive this week that that made it special? And I'll start. So in this masked up world, one of the things that I've always been known for is my smile, because I smile a lot. It's just who I am. It's who I've always been. And wearing a mask, it's been like a part of me has been taken away. And this week I said, you know, I don't want to hide that part of myself anymore, but I am respecting the whole thing about wearing a mask. So I said, what if I practiced smiling through my eyes more? If I allowed my smile to move from here upward. And I felt like I received so much more love this week. It was like an awakening it was sizable. It wasn't just a couple of people, but I felt it. People were like, oh yeah, I see you. I see you. Yeah, thank you. And so what I received was more loving. And anytime I receive more loving, I call that a win. So I'd love to hear from some of you. So raise your hands and go ahead, Irene.
All right. I did turn my camera off. I wanted to acknowledge that. I got a notice that my connection wasn't stable, so I wanted to make sure that I am here. I don't see any physical hands raised yet. Anybody? You can also use the virtual feature in the chat option.
We have shy.
Oh, okay. There I see. Paola. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Paula.
So this week I received a lot of freedom, I would say. I've been studying a lot during the pandemic, and I allowed myself to absorb a lot more present, everything that was coming at me on the screen. And that makes me really happy because it makes me feel even more liberated inside of that. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see Sharon has her hand up. Sharon, I'm gonna unmute you.
Okay, so I'll make it quick. I had 2 or 3 conversations where people just asked me, so what's going on with you? And so tell me more about yourself. I don't really know you. And so instead of me feeling like, oh, should I talk about me? Let's talk about you. And I just said, well, kind of like, well, the whole thing, everything that I wanted to say. And it was so beautiful. And it just felt like such a luxury. And then I had a couple situations with my son's dad, where normally, like if I'd say, let's go out to dinner, and, I'd pull out my wallet and everything. And he's just like, no, we haven't done this for a long time. So, and I'm like, oh, thank you. So it was beautiful. So thank you.
We all love when the check gets picked up. We all do. It goes both ways. Guys like it too, but thank you. Cool. Very cool.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have your hand physically raised? Do we have any gentlemen that want to share what they? Okay, so I see it's Penelope and Joran. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. I am unmuting you.
Hello.
Hi. So I've been on one of the dating apps for a while now, and I haven't really had what seemed like a whole lot of success in that regard in terms of migrating from the dating app to some other kind of communication. However, after the previous one, I took to heart the other part of the kind of homework challenge thing of be courageous. And so I just was like, hey, you want to take this to another communication service? And they were like, sure. And we actually have had a couple of hour-long conversations out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Love that. I love it. Because really, it's not about what we say in this room. It's what you do with it. It's not what we're learning, but what do you do with what you're learning? So thank you for being such a great example of that. Cool. Anyone else?
See any physical hands raised? I'm scrolling through my screens because I don't see any virtual hands raised.
Does everybody know how to, did you explain? Because some
yeah,
people...
there's if this is your first time, I'll go over it again real quick. If this is your first time on the chat, you can click on participants at the bottom. If you're on a mobile device, you have to tap your screen. Then you'll see the participants and you'll see the option to raise your hand. And I do see Tony has her hand up. So I'm gonna go ahead and unmute her. All right, Tony.
Hello. Where's
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Today. So I decided to be courageous and open up something that I've been kind of keeping to myself for quite a while. And that is that after 28 years, I want to sell my business.
Wow.
And so I was talking to customers, vendors, just different people this week. And I just received this outpouring of congratulations to make the next step. And also, what are we going to do without you? A lot of that. And it just felt good to have that affirmation that I'm going to go on. And almost everybody said, can I have personal contact information because I don't want to lose contact with you.
Wow.
And, I feel kind of overly isolated. I'm a very, very social person. Quarantining is
Yeah.
it's bizarre. I think might become a mental health issue for me. Called my therapist and said, help. So I'm glad I'm doing this, and I'm hoping to learn more and meet more people, because I'm stuck in quarantine.
I think we need to come up with a new word for quarantine, since in essence, the world may not be changing that quickly. And even the word to quarantine, it's like takes out the word choice out of it. So it's like,
Yeah, but it is a choice. I mean, I'm in support of my mother and my sister who live nearby, and I keep myself pretty close quartered and close to home because I want that bubble with those two to be really open.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, you got a friend here, and you got
Good.
everybody online, and we're in a moment, you're actually going to be able to meet some of them. So very wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? I would take one more person before we move on.
Yes, I see one more hand up, which is Chu Hong. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for being here. Yeah. I really thought a lot about the whole idea about the balancing out the giving and receiving. And I know that I'm more comfortable with the giving, and I'm learning to receive and just sit with it more and really soak it in. And one of the things I decided to give as a gift was I do coaching, is to give some people who needed it and have a prorated fee structure. And so I was helping this woman, and it was, I love working with her, and it was great, to come home and there was a gift from her for me. And it was so beautifully packed, with a lot of goodies.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and a beautiful note. And the theme of this was on the cup that was given to me was called joy. And I've been wanting to practice more of that, what do I want to feel? More joy. And so I even, when I'm happy, I sort of come up with some little songs that I sing to myself, and the song was about, oh joy, oh joy, oh joy, and suddenly, oh joy showed up. And there's still part of me saying, oh, she didn't need to do that. I just was so wanting to give to her, but I'm saying, well, she wants to give this as an exchange, so I'm going to really honor it and really just, really enjoying a lot.
Beautiful. I have to say, when you even say the word joy, your whole demeanor changes, and it's like this beauty just overwhelms your face, and you're alive. So keep that mug close.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to drink from joy every day.
Like that. I like that. So cool. So as I said last week, we worked on intention, and we looked at the intention to be more courageous, the intention to receive more, the intention to bring greater love into our lives was what was up. And can everybody see me, by the way? Because I see that we still have Chung on the screen. Can you all see me?
Yes, Heidi.
Okay, good.
Heidi, you don't see yourself.
Okay, great. I see the logo now. That's how I know I'm okay. Okay. So, so this week we're going to be looking into beauty, and also what our beliefs are about it. We're going to look at what limits our beliefs and how to expand past that. I'm curious, and this is going to take a hand raise. How many of you have taken the Insight One training? So if I just love to see a show of hands if you've taken the Insight One training. All right, so I've got 20 people that have responded. I'm assuming that either, oh, this is great. This is great. 23, I'm going to give it a minute.
Yeah, I see the hands are still going up, and there's also some people that on their screen are doing reactions with a thumbs up or clapping.
Okay. So it's probably, I'm thinking it's probably half and half, which is great. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit then about an opportunity to actually do the Insight One training. But in the Insight One training, we do spend a lot of time looking at beliefs and how those beliefs affect us in our lives, how limiting beliefs can sometimes get in the way of beliefs that are what we would call more on the more positive side, not that negative and positive are good and bad, but just things that restrict us, things that keep us from moving into what we really want more of in our lives. And how it, even if you have a belief going one way, if you have another belief that goes another way, how they can contradict each other and pull us down. So one of the greatest beliefs, or also look at it as myths, the myths that we buy, that society teaches us, the myths about, especially around beauty and what makes us beautiful, myths around aging and the way we look, and having, you know, what's come of light lately, like, you know, is in the Black Lives Movement, has been about, you know, what is beautiful? You know, is it the image in most magazines, or can we start expanding that, because there's such greater truth in it? And so we're going to be looking at that, and I will be bringing Quinntin Phelps on in a couple of minutes to really work with us on that, and for us to each find our individual beauty in a greater way. And you might ask yourself why we would be looking at the myth of beauty when we're talking about bringing greater love in our lives. And that's because there is a direct connection there. When we don't see ourselves as beautiful, when we don't see our true essence, it's very hard for us to share ourselves in the world and share ourselves with ourselves even, and bring about those things that we would like more of. So the more we can attach and know our authentic self, which is what really beauty comes down to, the greater opportunity we have to create what we want in our lives. And that's why we're talking about beauty tonight. And I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about that with. So I'm gonna, like, in a moment, we're gonna put you in groups of 2 people, and it's gonna be our Roger, who does our technical work, will be putting you into these what we call a dyad, 2 people sharing with each other. And you're each going to have 2 minutes to talk about what is the myths or the limiting beliefs you hold about yourself and you're wanting to move forward in your life and bring greater love in. What are some of those beliefs? And 2 minutes, by the way, can go like this, just like this. So I'm going to leave it up to you. There will be a prompt on the screen. It won't be it'll be visual. You will not hear my voice, but you'll see it saying 2 minutes. And then at 4 minutes, we'll stop you and bring you back into this group. So I don't know how many of you are in a group of 2. I think, well, if you're sharing this with somebody, I see Penelope and, is it John? Hold on a second. It's my urine. Are together. And outside of that, Roger, is that going to be a problem for you putting people in 2s?
At the moment, it'll go evenly. If one more person shows up, it will be uneven.
Okay. So, and you understand Penelope is together. There are 2 over there. So
as in they're in their own group?
Yeah, there's one group. Okay, great. So, so take 2 minutes. You know, it's going to take you a little bit of time for you to get in your groups. And so we're going to allow 30 seconds for that, and then just start. And really the question to each other is, how are your beliefs affecting your current reality? How are your beliefs limiting you from receiving more love in your life? And we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. Hey, I hope that was good for you. It's amazing how quick 4 minutes goes. 5 minutes, actually. Oh, and I'm glad you're getting to meet each other, because I want you to have support systems out there as we go through this. And the cool thing about being on Zoom is you can get each other's emails and things like that to stay connected. And we're going to be having you break out into another group a little later on, and just keep that in mind. So I want to move on to our main speaker for the night, and his name is Quinntin Phelps, which you've received in your materials. And I'll tell you a little story about how I met Quinntin. Quinntin came in my life at a time when I knew it was my time to upgrade my image. I had been living in a certain style and a certain way of being. I would say more of a survival in my life. And because life circumstances had changed, I knew it was time for me to upgrade. It's sort of like when you've been driving around in a really janky old car and you love the car and the car gets you from space to space, but you realize that there's an upgrade that was possible. And I had a friend introduce me to Quinntin. And at the time, Quinntin was, I believe he was at Bobby Brown, traveling around the world for them, helping people with makeup and their image, and went on to developing his own line of makeup and working with celebrities like Beyonce and Jane Fonda, and on and on and on. But what impressed me about Quinntin is when we met and I told him that I needed some help, whether it was about not only my hair and my makeup, but my clothing, I expected him to say, oh yeah, you need to wear this shade of lipstick and put on that dress and cut your hair this way and go see this person. And instead he said, well, tell me about yourself. And I started talking about what was important to me. And he said, no. I mean, tell me about who you really are. And I'd never been asked that question by somebody in the beauty field. And I said, well, why does that matter? And he said, because if what we create isn't authentic to who you are, it won't work. It will just be you putting on, like at Halloween, putting something on. You might look pretty, you might be sexy, you might be a lot of things, but it's not going to be who you are authentically. And he took me through a process, which he will be taking us through, and when I introduce him right now, that was really profound for me. And what it gave me was a knowing about freedom for me, which was so important, how I had lived my life in freedom. He showed me how to be in that freedom, in my clothing, in my hair. And we went from the inside out in a field that is never known to go that way. And I realized what a gem he was and how his 20 years plus experience had brought him to this place to be able to look at a man or a woman and see how to bring out the best in them. I know for me, it was a game changer. So I, without further ado, would love for you to meet my friend, my dear, dear friend, Quinntin Phelps. Quinntin?
Hi. You're unmuted now. Am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted.
Oh, good. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that grand introduction, Heidi. Heidi and I have known each other now seemingly more years than I can imagine, suddenly. And each moment has been better than the first. So I am only in appreciation. Beauty is my favorite topic. So I could go on and on for hours, and I note that we don't have that amount of time, so let's get to it. So I started beauty some years back, about almost 25, maybe even 30 years at this point. And I started in beauty as a hair person, and I moved to fashion. I moved to London and studied fashion, and then I moved to New York City, where I became a makeup artist, and then eventually went back into fashion, and then back into makeup, and then it became more about beauty as a general subject. So the truth of beauty is very important to me because I consider myself the truth of beauty, and therefore I try to spread this with everyone around me and help them to understand what the truth of beauty actually is. So when I actually say the truth of beauty, what I mean to say is the truth of beauty is you, and you therefore are the truth of beauty. So if that is true, and I believe so, and I'm going to try to convince you of the same, then that means that your truth is what we really need. So if your truth is what we really need, and in order to get to your truth, that's all that we're after, and therefore your beauty will arrive, because it has to arrive from the truth of who you are as an individual. Because you're taking this realm and you're a part of insight, that means that you have already decided that beauty is more important than taking, not necessarily being ugly, but taking an ugly direction. And that means that you are coming from a place of love. And so for me, beauty is what I use in order to forward the entire sort of like meaning of what love actually is. And so it becomes who you are, and everything about you becomes about your beauty, because it becomes about your living your beautiful life. And so in living your most beautiful life, we can start by, should I go into my first part, Heidi, talking, trust? Is that enough information on my story?
Yes, I think it is. And I think you've put the word truth in there, and which I would say, or I'm asking you, would that be like who you are authentically, your truth?
Yes, and this is extraordinarily important when one is speaking to beauty, ultimately your love of life, that you be in a place of truth, not, in other words, living from matter, which is of the world. And it's also how we are initially taught to live. And all of those, all of that information, I should say, is what we call a condition, something that is learned. So therefore, you almost feel as if you are lost in your condition. And what we want to do is get back to who you are, the actual person, and what you're feeling from within. And that's not a feeling that you just have from being in the world where someone is talking to you and you may get upset, or you may have a feeling based on the other person. It is a feeling that you own from deep inside, that you came into the world with, something that you want for yourself, and no one else needs to even know about it. But it's time now to begin to expose yourself, and therefore expose your beauty, meaning we have to get to the truth of who you actually are as an individual.
So in other words, are you saying that we each have to develop a beauty signature? Like, what is our signature?
I would even go one step further and say that everyone has a beauty signature. Ultimately, beauty is what innate style actually is. So when you see someone, you say, oh, that person has style. But what it means is that person is being unique to who they are. They're not following. They're not utilizing what someone is telling them. They really are utilizing themselves in order to come upon the truth. And the truth is what they are wearing. And so therefore, when they showcase themselves, it's so real, it's so authentic, that you're in awe and you call it style.
Got it.
Because it belongs, and therefore it looks correct. And when something looks so correct, you cannot deny it for what it is. And therefore, ultimately, you name it beauty. You will say that's beautiful. When you are, and this happens occasionally, when you're looking at something and you simply don't know how to take it or how to translate it, you may not call it anything. You may even get upset with it. But this is a personal issue that the individual is having, because they can't accept that in front of them that is so real, even if they've never seen it before in their life. But the acceptance or being real, that's why it takes a sense of courage, and it takes courage to actually be yourself. So truth is the underlining factor when we're speaking to beauty, truth of beauty.
Yeah, you know, what it reminds me of, and I'd love your comment on this, is like sometimes you'll see a man who is dressed in what I'd say a very soft way, you know, there's nothing defining him. And you sense this real power about them, and you go, wow, I can't wait till they step into their power. And you would see that something would be reflected on the outside, and maybe they haven't come to their own personal power yet, so the outer is not reflecting it. Is that kind of in the domain of what you're saying?
Yes, it could be. There are many ways to look at beauty, particularly when you're talking about physical beauty, which is really the outer beauty and how we actually display what we feel from inside. If it is artificial, which it could be, then the person may put on an appearance just for a particular reason. But if one is really speaking to actual beauty, then you're speaking from within and allowing it to show up outwardly. There are often you'll find individuals that they feel the way that they do, and they're very, very real in their actions, but they deny the physical part of it. So they won't give you the appearance so that they make the connection. The appearance is very important because in the world in which we live, which we have to connect the two together because we're in the world. And so we're a part of society. And being a part of society, what we want is to be one whole. And in order to be one whole, you connect the outside with the inside rather with the outside, and you become one whole individual. So when someone looks at you or comes upon you, there's no mistake. There's no question mark. You are who you are. And when you allow yourself that sort of beauty, that is beauty because of the fact that you are completely you. So you are attracting that in which you would like. Because everyone can see you for who you are, and you're not ashamed, you're not embarrassed. You are who you are, and you are the height of who you are. And it is your beauty, not my beauty. So everyone's beauty becomes different. Though I should append to that and simply say, the thing that is beautiful about beauty is that your beauty is not necessarily what you personally may think beauty is supposed to be. And this is why it is the most important to connect with yourself, to find out what that beauty actually is and not make the assumption that you know.
So how do we find that out?
Yes, indeed. So, it's a very permanent question. I think in the beginning, I would like to ask everyone to, we're going to partner here. And I'm going to ask you to simply remember a time in your life and go back as far as you possibly can. When you were younger would be best, but if not, just find a time in your life when you simply trusted yourself to do something that came out to be favorable. So again, find a time in your life when you trusted yourself to do something that you wanted to do, that had nothing to do with what someone told you to do, but something that you wanted to do on your own. And you actually accomplished that. And so it was favorable.
So before we go there, do you have an example that you could give?
Yes, I have an example that I use quite often because it's a time in my life that I remember so well. And I was around 4, maybe 5. And I came from a very large family. I had 7 siblings. And so, and I was like, I'm sort of a middle child, if you will. And I never felt like I had enough toys or things that I wanted because my younger brothers and sisters seemed to always get that first. So I remember thinking to myself, I wanted a toy. It was a toy airplane that I had to put together. And so I thought I would ask my father for an allowance because I thought it was time that I began to receive an allowance. So my dad was lying on the sofa in the sitting room, and I went in and approached him and I said, Dad, I think that it would be really nice if I could receive an allowance once a week. And of course he says, what would you like this allowance for? And I said, well, I'm looking first of all at a toy that I would like to put this airplane together. And then I would like to do some other things thereafter. And I would like to begin to save. And my dad, who I always felt a fear of, even at that early age, said to me, well, I'll tell you, I'm not going to give you this allowance. And your allowance is the food you eat, the bed you sleep in, the clothes you wear, and so on and so on and so on. And so I did not receive an allowance. And I was not only, I felt tortured at that moment. And I wanted to cry and I wanted to run out of the room. And I remember saying to myself at that moment, don't cry, stand and just walk out of the room. And that is what I did. And I know it seems very young, but that is how I felt at that age. I walked out of the room and I didn't allow my dad to see me cry. I trusted myself, I felt, though I did not receive this allowance, mind you, but I trusted myself to feel what I really wanted. And that was, I felt stronger next to my dad. And I didn't feel that I could no longer not approach him, even given the fact that there was a fear there. I knew that I could then approach him. So is that sort of a story that I'm looking for? And your story could have the most happy ending. You could have received your allowance, in other words, and that would be lovely. But go back and find a story where it was really about you.
Great. So let's, Roger, are you there?
Yes, here.
Okay, so we're gonna do a breakout group for this process. Or do we want to do it to ourselves? I'm sorry, Quinntin, do you want them to do it with them in a breakout, or do you?
Well, if we have time, they can, break out and tell each other their trusting story.
Okay.
And then maybe a couple share.
Okay, great. So let's get into groups, and we're going to go really quick, guys. So, you felt it before, guys and gals, you felt it before, how quick it goes. So when you get in the group, just start. My name is, and just laser that story, and we'll let you know. We'll put something on the screen at 1.5 minutes, and then we're going to have the other person go, and you'll add a 1.5 minutes, and then we'll be back here. Okay, so take it away, Roger. Coming back? Oh, I like that. Who's that with that great yawn?
That was Michael Hart, and I unmuted myself. Thank you.
Where are you, Michael?
I'm up in here somewhere. I don't know what your screen looks like.
Oh, no, but where are you? What city?
Oh, New York City. It's 8:49 p.m. and it's hot. Yes.
I know. I come from Quinntin. It's hot. Yeah. Quinntin, come on back.
Oh, is Quinntin in New York?
He's in New York City.
Indeed.
That's great.
Very warm.
You can see how warm. Yes, it's warm. Okay, is everybody back?
Oh, lovely. So can we maybe get one or two people to share a trusting story?
Sure, we could do that. Let's raise hands and let's see. Anyone want to share their trust story real quickly? Is Irene with us? What happened? I think we had a technical difficulty. Well, we have hand raised. Okay, let me see.
Okay. Beth Olson.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let's see, when I was very young, there's a couple, but I was in probably kindergarten, and back in the day, they let us play with hammers and nails and sharp objects. And I built some sort of box for my dad with like a swinging lid on it. It was like an inbox. Go figure, as like a 6-year-old, and I think he still has it today. So it was like a sense of creativity and accomplishment in a family that wasn't very creative. So anyway, that's all I have. That's what I got.
Okay.
Thank you. No, so the beauty of that story actually is that you're coming from a place where something didn't exist, and it was something that you wanted. So the creative edge was something that you wanted to create for the family and for yourself, and you did that. So that is actually a trusting story.
You trusted yourself.
I did.
Great.
Yeah. All right.
All right. How about Carrie Walden?
Hi, everybody. You keep talking about the hot. It's very cold here in Melbourne, Australia, I can tell you.
Is it like 2 in the morning? What time is it?
No, it's 10:51 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, right. Well, we're glad you're with us.
Thank you. So my story is when I was about 4 years old, and I was at kindergarten at school, and they created a little toy orchestra, and I was playing the triangle, and then all of a sudden the teacher said, well, Carrie, you can get out in front and you can conduct the orchestra. And I thought, oh my goodness me. So I thought, oh, I can do this. So up I got, and I conducted the toy orchestra, and I remember I had a green and white polka dot dress with a boat collar and a pink stiffened petticoat. and the pink stiffened petticoat sort of hung a little bit below the back of my dress, and I didn't realize it, but I trusted myself to do it, and I did it. That's my story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that story. I tell you, here's the thing about trust and why it's so important. And that is that when you have given yourself an opportunity, whenever in your life, and the younger the better, to trust yourself, it means you understand who you are as an individual. You understand that there is something bigger there, something more powerful than someone else. That you understand that there is a feeling that is innate that belongs to you, and that you have something literally to go to. Without anyone else, you went there and you found a sense of trust. And so when you go there, that means that that part of you is available. It's available to you to be more of who you are every day, to live in your own trust. And so trusting yourself is extraordinarily important. It's very important in beauty because you can't get there without it, because you can't get to truth without trust. And so now I'll take you into a next stage. And this is important because this is where we really go into finding more out about who you are, the individual, and where your beauty actually lies. And in saying this, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. And I'll speak, in several words, but the question is still going to be the same. So if everyone
Quinntin,
could now, yeah.
Just before you go there, because I promised you I'd do this, and I realized we didn't do it. So because I want to give people an example. So let me just do this for a minute. So
yes, please.
yeah, so for me, my word is freedom, and the way I got to my word freedom was there was a time when Quinntin took me through this process where I wanted to go to a party, and I was living in New York City at the time, and I couldn't get home to change. And I was wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, and I had packages, and everybody I knew was going to be dressed up. But I really wanted to go because it was a movie screening, and they were going to do a question and answer period with somebody I greatly respected, and I wanted to hear her speak. And so it was this moment where I went, I can't go. Look how I look. This is not appropriate. This is, and all these things went through my head. And I went, freedom. What would freedom do? And I said, freedom would just show up. And I walked in that room, and I was so free that people came up to me and actually commented and said, it's so great to see somebody so natural, so who knows themselves, that didn't, you didn't feel like you needed to get dressed up or whatever, And it was this moment where I got, when I'm in my freedom, I'm beautiful. I am in who I am. And as long as I'm there, and when I'm not in freedom, I could be wearing, a $20,000 outfit with the perfect makeup and the perfect hair, and I will be alone in a corner. And I saw that so perfectly, because that was my word. Okay, now go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to try to get you to give me a word. And you have to be in your trusting place, which is why we just went into trust. So everyone should be feeling trusting of themselves at the moment in which we're speaking, yes? And so if that is true, then I'm going to simply say to you a few things. And while I'm speaking, I just want you to come up with this one word. Just one word is all we need you to come up with. And I need you to either write it down or just remember it. It's one word, so I'm sure you remember it, no problem, right? So here's the question. There's one word, something that you have actually put into a word that came to you very early on in your life. It is a word that has been with you for a very long time. It is a word that you don't know why it came to you, how it came to you. It just sort of is there. It is a word that offers you guidance. It is a word that offers you direction. It is a word that you may like, you may love, or you may absolutely hate and despise it and wish for it to go away. But yet it is always there. So as I'm speaking and you come up with this word, just hold on to the word. And I want to just say this. The word that comes to you, please don't delete it. Don't search for another word because it's the word that you may be embarrassed of or a word that you feel is not appropriate. Whatever that word is, hold on to it. Now, if you come up with a word, something like fear, that would not be an appropriate word. And I'll tell you why. And that is because it offers no direction. So this word clearly will offer you direction and will truly offer you guidance. It is a word that is just always there no matter what happens in your life. This word seems to always pop up out of nowhere. And if everyone doesn't have a word, can you like open the speaker so that you can see if there's anyone out there who doesn't have a word yet?
Raise your hand. To have them raise their hand, Quinntin?
Yes, if they don't have a word.
If you don't have a word, raise your hand either physically or through the participant part. I don't see any. So
there's about 10 people that have their hands raised.
Oh, there are about 10 people who have their hands raised? Okay, so out of those 10 people that have their hands raised, let me say this to you. If a word came to you, don't deny the word, first of all. Just grab it. You know, there's nothing to be embarrassed of. Just grab the word and hold on to it. If it did not come to you, just give it a moment. You're maybe thinking too much about this word, quote unquote, and you want to really just go to a word that comes to you in your everyday life. It's something that just pops up. It feels like something that's just always there with you. It shows up literally like it wants to support you. It's just a word. It's just a word. And I can't tell you what the word is because it has to come innately from you, the individual. And it is that obscure. It's just something that is just with you, something that is just in the ethos. It's just out there. So how many hands do we have now?
is there anybody that doesn't have a word? Please raise their hand.
5.
5? All right, we're getting there.
If 5 people still don't have a word? Okay, so
Either that or they haven't unraised their hands. Oh, now there's only one person whose hand is still up too.
So does anyone have a question about the word? Can you like open the speaker for someone to ask a question in their puzzlement? Anyone who's puzzled, would you ask a question?
I have a question. You said that fear, ironically, was the one word that we shouldn't use, but that's the word that keeps coming up. So if I can't use that word and that's the word that keeps coming up, I'm not sure. I don't know that I'm getting where you're going.
Thank you so much. But you're not supposed to necessarily get where I'm going, to be honest. So it really puts you in a very awkward position. And that's sort of the point of it, is that there is nothing out there. It's just something that comes to you in your everyday life. But it's something that offers you direction, something that offers you support. So it does not necessarily, you don't have to think of it as a word. You could think of it as an action, you know, or something that shows up, you know, to say, oh, this is what I love, or this is something that happens all the time. This is something that, you know, whenever I'm out and about, I feel like this comes to me. And it just happens to be in a word form. And the reason fear would not be it is just there's no direction. It can't direct you anywhere. It can only direct you to a bad place, and you want to do something from that place.
So let's go on to another person and come back and give yourself, don't overthink it. That's the idea. Do not overthink.
Don't overthink it.
Who else? Is there anybody else that doesn't have a word still?
I see Vaughn has her hand up.
Okay. We've got about 5 minutes, so we have some important stuff around this, so we want to get to it. So, Yvonne?
My issue is that just like the last speaker, the first word that came was fear, and with my fear comes trying to shape shift. If you want someone who's outgoing and exciting, that's me. If you want someone quiet, if you want someone smart, if you want someone beautiful, but where am I? I don't feel like...
We don't want anything. You don't want anything either. You just want to know what comes to you in your everyday world that it helps to shape you as an individual.
And that's fear.
Well, if fear comes to you, but that is what's holding you hostage in your world. If it weren't fear, what would not be holding you hostage?
I think I don't have that experience, so I'll work on it.
Stay with the program and stay with everyone else here, and we'll work on it maybe later.
Thank you, Quinntin.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Anyone else who's out there, it'll be a delayed situation, and so we'll have to work with them more on an individual level.
Okay, we could do that. So, Quinntin, where do we take this now? Now that we all have our words, and can we open up the mic for a minute and everybody say their word out loud? Can we do that, Roger?
Yep.
We're gonna unmute everybody for a moment. Just say your word. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Freedom.
Wisdom.
Just say it out loud, guys. Just say it out loud.
Embracing life.
Imagination.
Go.
Yes. Okay, so this is actually really good. So everyone pretty much around the board just has a word that just came to them, yes? And so...
The mute back on.
Was I not on? Okay, so everyone should have a word that just...
Remute.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Quinntin.
Thank you. So everyone pretty much has a word. So now this is important because this word is your beauty word. This is the word that we're going to use as who you are, the person. Generally speaking, most people, the word that they choose is the word that really encompasses who they are as a person. Like everything about them falls under this umbrella. Like when we did Heidi's words, hers was freedom. And so it was very apparent that everything about her in her life was about freedom. So it was like, how does freedom show up in the world? And then it becomes, what does it look like? And so therefore, every individual becomes an individual. And the thing about individuality is that we have to remember in the world in which we live, the society, there's always an effect or something that allows us to recognize that we are in the year 2020. So as opposed to using the trend of the moment, you allow the trend to be a part of who you are by being yourself and use the trend as an effect. It just allows you to be in society. So then let's begin to see, here are some of the words and ask questions where I can support you more individually with your word and where we're going.
Okay, and we have literally 5 minutes, so we're gonna have to really laser this.
Let's buzz through it.
So the question is, Quinntin wants to work with somebody, obviously, just raise your hand, whoever it is.
Anyone who has beauty questions, anyone who has, this is your time for your beauty question.
Michael Hart.
Michael Hart, okay.
I'm sorry, what was the word?
Well, my word is power.
What was the word?
Power. Power.
Power. Thank you, I'm so sorry. Yeah, beautiful word. That's a word that always comes to you, yes?
Yes.
And how do you feel about that word?
Well, that's why I raised my hand. So in my youth, I felt beautiful about power. Nowadays, I feel more like a janitor about power. I feel like the gardener or the bald man or something not that it may be powerful, but it is not something I connect with beautiful.
And that's really interesting because you'd be amazed at how many people look at a powerful person and find absolutely complete beauty in them, just based on power alone. Because power has an appearance about it as well as a behavior and an attitude. And it's about that power working for you as opposed to against you. And the thing about knowing your word is really knowing who you are. And once you know that, you begin to really analyze or to look and strip away what power actually means to you. You make it that personal. You look at, where it's working, where it's not working, why it's working, why it's not working, but you never leave the word because the word won't ever leave you, as you know. And if it never leaves you, that means you have to get with it because it's always there waiting for you to join it. And it is your truth. So It's a word, in most people's words, they've also had issues with the world accepting them when they're being that way. In many cases, it's overwhelming for the audience. But that's the whole point. It allows you to look at yourself deeper and become more of that, not less. But in becoming more of something, you find a way to do that in love. So you find out where is power? How does power sit in the world of beauty? Because when you're like truly in power, you're your most loving place in the world. And that's where your beauty lies. So how do you become more powerful is your question. And it doesn't mean what most people think power is. It's your meaning of it. You have to amend to the actual meaning of power and bring the glory and the joy to that particular word, meaning to yourself.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, I do. I acknowledge what you're saying. Yes.
So do you acknowledge your power? Do you acknowledge your power?
Yes, I do. I actually find just having the word a natural part of a self-acceptance. Like I can get that right now that I didn't have before I was asked to have a word about it.
Perfect. Perfect. That's great. So Quinntin, let's move on. Michael, thank you.
Yes. You too. Thank you.
Yeah. One more.
Any beauty questions out there on power?
Yeah.
On their work? Yeah.
Let's hear from Debbie Roth.
Oh, Debbie Roth.
Woohoo! I feel like I won the lottery. Okay, so my name's Debbie. It's nice to, I really appreciate you. This is really cool. I love it. And my word is connection.
Connection.
And yeah, thank you. And like really just this like connecting from my heart, just connecting my heart, connecting to someone else's heart, connecting to spirit, all that. So what my question is for you is, so how can I use that, like in beauty or in my life or in fashion? Like I'm sort of a practical, like, all right, I've got this word. It like, definitely feels like me. So what do I do?
You have to decipher that word, take it apart.
Yeah.
Because when you take the word apart, you take yourself apart and you allow yourself to see yourself that much thoroughly. And that's what you want from your own life, is to know yourself implicitly, so that no one can tell you anything about who you are, so that when you're speaking to connection, you are connection. And that is what these words are. They're that kind of powerful, Michael, no pun, but there is who you are. So if you are connection, then as you go into the world, everything about you is about the connection. So it's not just one thing that you do, it's everything that you do. So it is, what do you want? What do you want me to answer? Like, is it, how do I wear my makeup? Like give me something more specific to answer for you.
Well, that actually did incredible. So I can start there. I was thinking specifically clothes because I just have a shirt today.
No, you look terrific. But here is the thing about your clothing right away. How you dress is in order to make connections in the world.
Well, it's funny because I put this on because I was offering a workshop right before this, and I thought the pink color would actually be.
I love the pink. And you see what I'm saying? As a person who connects, you're always thinking about the connection.
Great.
You put the pink on, and right away, when I see you, I'm connected. Because there's something very pleasing and inviting about the shade itself. So everything you do is all, and that is how you, in your world, that's how you meet people. You meet people through connection. And what happens? Your beauty is right there. Your beauty is in the connection. Your beauty is in, I'm going to get my hair done. How should I do? I want to make connections with my hair. My hair should be blank, blank, blank. You know, no matter what you do, it's always about the connection. It's very simple. It's really that easy.
It's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. And thank you, Quinntin. So here's the thing where we have another speaker coming on. Oh my God, Rachel, we've got to do something about this because there's so much more. Each of our speakers had so much more time, you know, knowledge to give and wisdom. And each of them, of course, does private work. And we're going to be putting that on the website. And I recommend each of these people. A lot of what we're starting to talk about, you do find in the Insight seminars. And if you haven't done Insight, by the way, and here's my plug, Quinntin, you're an Insight grad. How did it affect your life?
I am indeed, and it affected me in the most positive way, and the timing could not have been better. My life was, you know, going through what I would have called, you know, chaos at the time, and I was introduced to Insight via Heide. And it really opened my eyes and allowed me to see so much more of myself and what I wanted out of my life. So I'm very happy that I did Insight.
Yeah, so here's the plug. I actually did the Insight one about right before we went into COVID. I redid it as a participant with my boyfriend. And boy, I had a whole other experience stepping off the stage and coming back in the audience. So we're going to be online for the first time ever. And if you think we're just going online, think again. We have reinvented a lot of the things in the seminar that that we will be presenting online, so that it'll be as much participation, as much as love, it's amazing what the team who's been redesigning the seminar for online has come up with. So I encourage you. If you're not on our mailing list, please go to insightseminars.org and get on our mailing list. And if you want to contact me privately, it's heidebanks@gmail.com. And Heidi's with an E, H-E-I-D-E. And I have heard from a number of you, and I'm happy to get your emails. And what else? Rachel, did I forget anything? Have I?
Well, it's in the chat. The Insight one is August 6th to the 9th. And if you go to insightseminars.org and go on the calendar, you can click on it and get all the information, the schedule, the whole thing. But we're so excited about being able to take it through this platform, but really connect on a whole new way. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an extraordinary experience. I know I'm going to be there for it. So yeah. So without further ado, and Quinntin, at the end, I'm going to bring you back for a moment. So stay with us, okay? And let's all give Quinntin a round of applause. You can just see your hands. Yay!
Thank you very much. It was kind. Thank you.
Yay. So our next speaker is an Insight grad as well. Her name is Agapi Stassinopoulos. And as I've said, Agapi is the Greek name for unconditional love. And if you've ever been in her energy field, you'll understand why her mother was a genius in naming her this. I met Agapi at my first Insight seminar. I was 23 years old. Agapi was a little bit older than me, maybe a day. But we say that because my birthday and her birthday are one day apart. So I always say, you came in first to welcome me. Agapi is an accomplished speaker. She works with Thrive International, which is, and she'll tell you a little bit, I'm sure, about the company. She's written to date, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4 books, but each of them are very special and talk about her philosophies of life. And what I know best about her is she's all about letting go of your restrictions and opening your heart. And if there's anything that is binding your heart, she'll get to it and just smash it right open with love. So let's have Agapi join us. Let's give her a round of applause. She could virtually see us. Yay!
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Quinntin, thank you so much. I actually found a picture of you and me. I sent it to Heide and I'll send it to you about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago in New York. when I was doing the goddesses. And you did my makeup at Urban Zen. I never forget it. And just was say, I love you. I love what you're doing. Heidino, I love you. I love everything about you. And I would give you the word joy. I don't know what your word is, but it never fails for me to call my dear friend and have a good laugh. If I want to have a good laugh, I just call Heidi. So my word actually is effervescent. That's just what came up. I don't even know what effervescent means. You know, I just feel John Roger, my teacher, a long time ago when we were at Inside 2, for those of you who've done Inside 2, said to me, he gave me the word vivacious. And for me, that's the essence that I feel, this kid inside of me that is joyful and loves life. And the only thing that cuts off that is judgments. So what I want to add to the beautiful session that Heidi and Quinntin brought today is, can we let go of the judgments? I think two people said fear, that their word was fear. I mean, fear is okay, but judging your fear is where we get stuck. So the judgments is what binds our hearts. That's as simple as that. And today in my social media, I put a beautiful quote by my teacher, John Roger. And I want to tell you that during this very challenging time of coronavirus quarantine, whatever this quarantine means, and isolating, which is a terrible word, isolating. I hate it. You know, you shouldn't isolate. Nobody should isolate. We should all be connecting. Like Debbie Roth said, connection. Connection should be the foundation of our daily life. He actually said, I get caught up in things just like everybody else, but I get uncaught very fast. As soon as I feel something that even begins to hurt or contract, I say, that's a signal to expand. Wherever something pushes it, whenever something pushes in, I say expansion. So wherever you are right now, would you just say this word loud? Expansion. Can you just, expansion. Beautiful. Expansion. And let's make this our affirmation for the session, for the rest of the session today. And for me, it's a great word to actually get up in the morning and have the intention of expansion. Nothing to do, just giving the consciousness a route, a direction, a compass. Go to expansion. And the consciousness and the heart know exactly what to do. The thing that we must not do is interfere with it. And if we interfere with our heads and our heads mess us up, then we can start to constrict. So right now, first of all, I want to thank the Insight family. I did Insight many years ago, and it definitely expanded me in every level. It set seeds that are now becoming fruits in my life, and I give credit to my teacher and to Insight and to the Insight community. And so I support you all to continue the journey, because it's like, you know, coming in to swim in the ocean, and as you take the next insight and the next insight and you keep diving in, you keep going deeper and deeper, and it's a wonderful feeling. So what I thought would be really great is if we went a little deeper into our heart beyond the surface, and really called ourselves forward into a more dynamic and a more expanded version of ourselves. So I'm going to ask you right now we're going to do a guided visualization, a guided meditation. We might go about 5 to 6 minutes, a little over our time. I hope that's okay for everybody. So wherever you are, just lean back and start to really quieten the head and the mind and the thoughts and come into alignment with your own breath. And the way we do that is we start to turn our focus inside into our breath. So if you would like to just roll your shoulders up and down very gently, and as you roll your shoulders up and down, please let go of any concerns, any worries about the future, and just stretch your neck left and right and very gently elongate your neck, elongate your spine, and we are going to open up our arms all the way. And so we start the expansion by physically opening the arms, and imagine that your fingertips are touching the ceiling. So go all the way up and stretch. I love that. I love that. Stretch all the way. And then exhale with a little sound like, ah. And as you exhale, place your beautiful palms on top of your lap. And we are going to play a very soft little music. And I hope you can all hear me okay. And just very gently come into the presence of your heart. Start to evoke any images, any feelings that evoke love. And as you take your next breath, allow your breath to deepen. Slow down your breath and elongate it. And as you exhale, exhale any tensions, any fears, any concerns, any restrictions. And as you receive your next breath, come into alignment with your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your body. And now just gently observe the coming in and the going out of your breath, the rising and the falling of the breath. And all you're doing is leaning back and ask yourself, who is breathing me? Who is breathing me? And let the one who is breathing you, the energy of spirit, the energy of the higher consciousness that is love, fill your heart. And allow your heart to soften. Allow your heart to quieten. And allow yourself to listen to your heart. What does my heart desire? What would bring happiness to my heart? Ask yourself the question. and just listen. And receive the answer that your heart has for you. Is it more play? Is it more permission to be who you are? Is it more receiving from others? Is it more giving of yourself? Is it more allowing yourself the freedom to express every day who you are? And as you receive, take your hand and place it in your heart. And take your other hand and place it in your belly. Or place both hands in your heart, but connect to yourself. And allow yourself to receive the message of love. Just tell yourself, I love you. I love you. I love you. And just give love to yourself. The most incredible, beautiful prayer in the world is two words. Thank you. First, thank yourself. Thank life. Thank the goodness that surrounds you. Thank this moment. Thank everything around you. And take this love like it is a palpable energy and hold it and send it out now to those you love, to those you care for. Send it out with generosity. Send it out with intention, but others also receive it. And send it out with your prayers for what you would like to receive more of. Just freely send it out. And as you take your next breath, come into this presence of yourself, this presence that surrounds you, and feel this love through the vibrations of our community right now, all around you. And feel yourself being embraced and held, safe and secure. All is well. All shall be well. And the more love you bring to you every day, the more forgiveness, the more grace will touch upon you. Right now, very gently, allow your shoulders to go up and down again. Relax your jaw, stretch your neck. Take your arms and put them around yourself like you're hugging yourself. And left and right, stretching everything. And very gently take your arms and just place a rainbow around your whole energy. Just feel this rainbow of energy. You know, we are magic. We can make rainbows around us. And feel this rainbow around you. And very gently, you will open your eyes. But as you open your eyes, stay present with yourself in your heart. And make sure that throughout the day you take a few conscious breaths and allowing your heart to open a little more with every breath. Till there comes a moment where you are inside your heart and you are like walking in your heart. And that's what insight always teaches us, the awakening of your heart. And it's endless. I thank you. I send you all my love from Los Angeles. And if any of you would like more meditations, I have 33 of them. And I send out about 9 for free as my gift. So if you send me an email at Agapi at unbindingtheheart.com, Agapi at unbindingtheheart.com, it will be my joy to send them to you. I love you. Stay connected. Stay loving. Stay forgiving.
Thank you, Agapi. That was, thank you. And so generous of you to offer those meditations. And we will have that information on the website as well. So that people.
Love you, Heidino.
I love you too. And it's Agapi, A-G-A-P-I. And I'm going to talk to Quinntin afterwards and see if we could, we really went quickly to a process, by the way, that when you work with Quinntin, you come up with 3 words. So he wanted to give you a taste of it. And I'm going to talk to him about how to get best in touch with him. And we'll be sending that out to you this week between this session and next session. So here's your homework, guys. And gals. I have to stop saying guys because somebody said don't say that. But where I grew up, we always called each other guys. So all you beautiful people, how's that? And I mean that from my heart. Here's your homework. Live your word this week. Whatever word you came up with, live it. Look it up in the dictionary. Get a greater understanding of it. See what happens as a result of it. And I'm just going to give you a little forewarning about it. My word's freedom. You can imagine that there are people who don't like that I live in freedom. And I've learned that that's part of the gift of life. Like, am I going to shut down? Or as Agapi said, am I going to expand? So know that as you go through this, this is a process of living your word. And you're going to have a myriad of reactions, but it's about how you become solid inside yourself, regardless of the world. But I'm pretty sure that what you're going to find is that people are going to love that you're living your truth. And you're going to know that. And you may make some decisions as a result of it. And we want to hear about them next week. The other thing is keep expanding your heart, as Agapi said. See where this week you might be challenged, or you might find yourself in this time of lockdown. For the extroverts out there, which I give great compassion to. See how you could expand even being in this situation that we're in. So those are your two assignments. Live your word, expand your heart, and then we'll hear from you next week. Next week, come prepared with paper And if you have some colored pens, it's fun to do it with it, because we're going to be creating a blueprint for relationship. And we have some real masters joining us, including Rachel Jane. And when you hear Rachel's story of what she created, some of you know her and her husband. I know you're going to be inspired. And we do have a special guest that you'll be delighted with. So between now and then, I will be sending out a communication. If you want to reach me, please feel free. If you have a question, if something's come up, do email me at heidebanks@gmail.com. It's Heidi with an E. And love you guys. And let's open the mics for a moment and just say, yay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yay!
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.